Grab your solid color fabric scraps and a cup of something warm. Today we're weaving a rainbow right into our quilt. In today's video, we're working on day 7 of the 30-day scrap quilt challenge. Rainbow, include at least 5 colors. Our block for today is the Woven Quilt Block, and it's completely beginner friendly. It's bright, colorful, and such a fun way to use your scrap in all shades of the rainbow. For each day in this challenge, a new prompt helps you spark ideas and sew with freedom. Anything goes. I've got a free prompt sheet for you to download. You'll find that link in the description box below. I'll be making each block 12 inches square, and on the last day we'll complete the final block and assemble our quilt in a Quilt-As-You-Go fashion. And remember, no rules, no perfection. Let's get started. Let's go over the materials that you're going to need for this project. You're going to need scrap fabric, 8 pieces, rainbow colors that are 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches, scrap fabric, 4 pieces, rainbow colors that are 6.5 inches by 3.5 inches, 1 piece of batting that is 12.5 inches square, and 1 piece of backing fabric that is 12.5 inches square, and your basic sewing notions. And I just picked 5 colors for my rainbow. There are 7 colors, but I only could find 5 in my stash. So that is the prompt. So we're going with that. And then I drew out a picture of what I thought it would look like. And I have 4 reds in the corner. And you can see where I did the purple and green and blue and yellow for the woven part of our block. But you can make yours any way you want, and maybe you won't even make a woven block, and that's fine. You can just use your rainbow colors however you like. So we'll need to start by cutting out our fabric. I'm starting with the red piece to cut, and I will need 4 red pieces that are 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And I'm just measuring on my mat 3.5 inches, and I just count out the blocks. It just seems the easiest to me. So I just go 1, 2, 3.5, and I will just cut right there to get my 3.5. And always count twice. There's that. And then I need to turn it the other way. And I'm just making sure here. Oh, I see. I'm just trimming up there because I see that I have little pieces on the side. It's always good to go back and remeasure. I just needed to take off a little sliver there. Sometimes these rulers slide. I know there's ways to make them not slide. There are those stickers you can put on the bottom. And here I'm just making sure that I'm at 3.5. And then I will fold it in half so that I can get 2 pieces, and I'll make sure that that edge is lined up on my mat. I know that a lot of quilters don't like to use the mat. I do use it quite a bit. But if you have a specialty ruler that would say be 3.5 inches, you could use that as well. There we go. And we have 2 of our 3.5-inch squares, and we'll put that other piece in the scrap pile. There's 2. And then we need 2 more for the bottom corner. But I didn't cut them at that time. I got ahead of myself. So I'll be going back and cutting those pieces. So now we need to work on the purple. We need 1 3.5-inch by 3.5-inch and 1 that is 3.5 by 6.5. And I'll just line that up at 3.5 on my mat. And I do apologize. I lost all the sound to my video. So I am doing a voiceover for all of you. But here I am lining up. I'm getting off the crooked edge. Now I have a straight edge to work with. And I'm counting over 3.5 just to be sure. Looks like it's time for me to change my blade, right? And here I am measuring my 3.5. And I still need a 3.5 by 6.5, but this one is only 6, so I need to cut another piece from that purple piece. And if I had been smart, I would have cut it long ways, but I didn't think about that. And that's okay. That's how we learn, right? And there I am counting out 6.5. I tend to count out individual pieces versus laying things on top of each other. That I tend to get confused when I do stuff like that. If they're all the same fabrics, then yes, I would stack them on each other. So there are our 2 purple pieces. And then next we need to do the yellow. And again, 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches and 1 3.5 by 6.5. And this time I will be doing the long edge. And I'm just lining that up on the mat and getting my 3.5. And this time I do have the fabric folded over. And counting again, just to be sure. Opening that up, and now I can get my 3.5 by 3.5 and then my 3.5 by 6.5. And I did iron these pieces of fabric, but they're just so old. I even put some starch on there to see if that would help, but I still have crinkles in there, but it'll be okay. All right, next we're going to work on the blue. And again, I'm doing it long ways. And I'm just going to clean up that jagged edge. And I'm lining up with the top line of the ruler. And next I can just count out my 3.5. Right there. And counting again just to be sure. Many times with cutting, it's just about patience. Sometimes I get in a hurry. I think the key to cutting is taking your time, finding what works best for you. And if you have a specialty ruler that's 3.5 inches, or you have something that you could use, maybe something smaller, like this is that 4.5 inch square ruler, you could just look for your 3.5 inch mark on there and use that as well. If you don't want to use a longer ruler, that would work for like doing it this way. And that would do your 3.5 inch square. There's that one. And then I'll just measure out the 6.5 inches. Sometimes when you're using a larger ruler that's way larger than the fabric, that tends to throw me off as well. A lot of these rulers have so many markings on them that can throw you off. That's why I tend to use my mat a lot. But I do like the ruler so that I can see, so that I can match up some of the lines on there. And there's our blue. And then we just need to do our green piece. And here I wanted to show you that you can fold over twice. And then I'm just trimming off that raw edge so that it's straight. And then I'll measure over 3.5 inches. Open that up, and then we'll get our 3.5 inch square and our 3.5 by 6.5 inch piece. Whatever is most comfortable for you as far as cutting. It does take practice. Some people even mark lines and just cut with scissors, and that's perfectly fine too. And we just need our 6.5 piece from this. And then our cutting is almost done, except I need to cut 2 more pieces of the red. I was so excited for the project that I forgot it. Here I am counting again. I just want to be sure. And there are our green pieces and our blue pieces. And then I noticed that something is not right. I think the green piece is too big. And that happens. We all make mistakes. So all I need to do is trim that to the correct size. And there we go. All is good. Just another piece for the scrap pile, right? Now we have all of our pieces cut except those two red ones. Let's go ahead and lay out our woven block. We've got the 4 corners done there, the 4 reds, and then our yellow will go right there. This block is so easy to put together. And there's the blue, and then the other blue. It has the appearance, once you put it together, of being woven. And I'm just using my picture there so that I get it correct. Then the green will go there. And one last yellow. And there we go. Then I'm going to put all of the pieces together that are 3.5 by 3.5, and I'm going to pin on the side that I want to sew. That way I don't get it goofed up. And we'll put those 2 together, 2 at the bottom together, and then the last 2, the red and the yellow at the bottom together, and I'll pin that. And I will sew each one of those with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. When I have that done, I'll be right back. I'm back from the sewing machine. I did chain piece these together, and I'm just snipping them apart. I'll open those up and we will get those pressed. But first I want to make sure that I sew them all together correctly. I do make mistakes. Let's see where this one goes, right there. And then this one. There we go. And there. I pressed what I just sewed, and now I am just simply going to combine them to our next set of pieces. I'll go ahead and pin where I need to sew. There's no seams to worry about. I'll just flip over, make sure I'm pinning all those sides so that I don't get them goofed up, because so far we're doing okay. Yep, just flip that over there Like I said, easy block to put together. And such a fun block with so many possibilities. And we'll pin that one. And off to the sewing machine. Back from the sewing machine, I'm just clipping these pieces, and then what I'll want to do next is press the seams and then press them open. Look how cute. I just love it. So we'll just put these two together, pin that, and just pinning the side that I want to sew. We'll flip the other one over. We'll pin that side, go to the sewing machine. It'll be a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And there we go. We only have 2 more pieces to put together, and I am going to make sure that my center seam is nested, and then I will pin that. I just want to make sure that we have a nice center seam. And then I will line up the edges at the top and on the side and give that a pin. And I'll put a pin on the other side, making sure that that is all lined up as well. And I'll take it to the sewing machine and we'll do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Our block is all sewn together and I just love it. Can you spot the woven pieces? And it is a perfect rainbow, right? Except it doesn't have 7 colors, but that's okay. And it does measure a little over 12 inches, so I have plenty of room to trim. So I'm very happy about that. And you can see all the woven pieces. I just love it. Next, we need to add the batting and the backing, and we can trim this up. I added the backing fabric, and you can see I'm really using my scraps. I sewed 2 pieces together and a piece of batting, and now we can add our quilt block on top. There we go. How pretty is that? Just making sure everything is lined up before I take it to the sewing machine to quilt. And I'm just going to do a stitch in the ditch at all the seams, and I'll be using some gray thread. I am just going to pin it, and most of the time I glue base, but I think this time I will just pin. I switch it off, guys. I don't know about you if you do that as well, but for this one we're just going to pin. And I'm just pinning randomly. I don't have a system for that either. And I'll go to the sewing machine and I will quilt this, and I'll come back and show you. I'm back from the sewing machine. I have it all quilted, and here's the back. I absolutely love this. I think the woven block is perfect if you want to do 5 colors, but you could also integrate 7 colors. It would work just fine. So let's trim this up to 12 inches. I see that the 6 is in the center there, so that'll make it easy. I have plenty of room to trim for this one. And we will flip that around, put it on the 12. Trim up the sides, making sure I'm on the 12. Always check twice. There we go. And I see a little spot at the top that I may want to trim. And I'll go ahead and do that. There we go. It was just a little sliver, but it's perfectly fine. I just love it. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a Bible verse and a final thought to encourage you. The Bible verse is from Genesis chapter 9, verse 16. The rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I will look on it to remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on earth. Every time I see a rainbow, I'm reminded that God keeps His promises, just like the threads we weave into our quilts. His faithfulness runs through every color and every season of our lives. As you sew today, let this rainbow of fabric remind you that hope, beauty, and new beginnings are always on the horizon, stitched together by a loving Creator. Thank you so much for watching, sharing, and commenting. I can't thank you all enough. It truly means the world to me. And until the next video, God bless you.